Welcome to Blue Steel Heroes. I'm Dave Ross. Not all heroes are in the military or first responders. Today we're going to celebrate 3 heroic people who stood up to gunmen who were killing people on Bondi Beach at a Hanukkah festival in Australia. 2 of them died in the process and 1 was severely wounded. What we show today is not speculation, it is not commentary, and it's not designed to provoke emotion for or against anyone. Today, we lay out the facts. What happened, what evidence has been confirmed, who was lost, and who acted when it mattered most. Bondi Beach, Sydney, is normally a place where people go to play, have fun, eat at good restaurants, and spend time on the beach. It's a place for families and for everyday life. On this day, it was the site of a Jewish Hanukkah celebration. Families gathered openly, planning to light candles at sunset. Children ran nearby. Elderly community members attended. There were no barricades, no heavy security presence, no expectation of danger. This was a public, peaceful, religious gathering. Without warning, gunfire erupted. 2 gunmen had opened fire on the crowd. People did not immediately understand what was happening. Some froze, some ran, some fell. Within seconds, panic spread through a densely packed public area. Witnesses described screams, confusion, and people scrambling for cover with nowhere to hide. This was not a closed space. This was open ground. There was no place to hide. The attackers fired repeatedly. The attack lasted only minutes, but the damage was immediate. At least 16 people were killed and 30 to 40 were wounded. Police were dispatched rapidly and got there within about 4 minutes. The officers arrived while the shots were still being fired, moved directly toward the attackers, and very quickly took them out. During that response, 2 police officers were shot and injured, but they survived. When the shooting ended, the confirmed toll was devastating. 16 civilians were murdered. At least 38 others were injured. The victims included children, parents, elderly couples, Holocaust survivors. They were civilians attending a religious celebration. They were no one's enemy. One of the attackers was killed by police. The second was shot, survived, and is now under guard in custody. The people who were killed had survived persecution before. They were grandparents, parents, and community leaders. Several were killed while trying to shield others. One woman was killed shielding a small child that was not her own. Some were struck while helping their own children escape. These details matter because this was not indiscriminate chaos. This was targeted violence against a religious group practicing their religion. Authorities have identified the attackers as a father and son. The father was a licensed firearm owner. Multiple firearms were legally registered in his name. 3 of them were apparently at the scene. Large quantities of ammunition were also recovered. In their car was improvised explosive devices. These explosives were never detonated, fortunately. Investigators recovered an ISIS flag draped across the windshield of the attacker's vehicle. This is not a rumor, you can see it in the video. This is confirmed evidence. Authorities have stated the attack was ideologically motivated, not random and not spontaneous. Police and intelligence agencies are treating this as a terrorist attack with anti-Semitic targeting. They have emphasized that this reflects extremist ideology, not an entire religion. That distinction is critical. One of the heroes of the day was also a Muslim. The surviving attacker had previously come to the attention of security services years earlier. At that time, he was assessed and monitored. No charges were filed against him. In recent months, investigators say, he has displayed signs of renewed extremist beliefs. Both attackers had traveled overseas to the Philippines shortly before the attack. They apparently went to the southern area of the Philippines where there's a substantial Muslim rebellion going on. That travel is now under investigation and little is actually known about it. Authorities are examining whether that trip involved training, indoctrination, or some form of external coordination, although at this point there's no confirmed evidence of direct command from any overseas organization, merely sympathy for ISIS. The police engaged quickly. They showed up within 5 minutes of the beginning of the fire. One was neutralized and killed, the other shot and taken into custody. The area was secured, but the hospitals were overwhelmed. Families searched for their loved ones. The city entered lockdown conditions. In the moment of this chaos, something happened that deserves to be remembered clearly. An elderly couple tried to take out one of the gunmen at the very beginning and were killed for their efforts. A civilian ran toward the gunfire in the middle of it and tackled one of the attackers. His name was Akmed Al Akmed. He was 43 years old, from Syria, now an Australian citizen living in Sydney, where he has a small local shop. He was not trained for this. He was not armed. When the shooting began, he did not run away. He ran directly toward the attacker. He physically wrestled the firearm from him. After the struggle, Ahmed was shot multiple times by the other attacker. Despite being wounded, he prevented that shooter from firing further into the crowd. Police have confirmed that his action directly saved lives. Ahmed survived. He underwent surgery and is currently recovering. The Australian Prime Minister personally visited him in the hospital to thank him. Law enforcement officials publicly recognized his actions as heroic. Donations have poured in for his recovery from across the country, not because of politics, but because of courage. He was not alone. The elderly couple, the Germans who confronted the gunman, were both killed, but they acted when they had the opportunity to do so. Another man at a different point distracted the attackers, allowing others, including a mother with a baby, to escape. These people had no obligation to act. They had no means to fight back, but they chose to act anyway. There are unanswered questions. Investigators are still examining what's going on. Digital planning materials, financial support networks are all being investigated. The full purpose of their overseas travel. Authorities currently believe, however, that the attackers acted alone. That assessment may change. The investigation is ongoing. This is not a story about fear. It's not about assigning blame broadly. It's about reality. Civilians were targeted for their religious beliefs. Families were destroyed. But courage existed alongside the terror. Australia has some of the strictest gun laws in the world. The attack forced difficult questions. How did this happen? How did this happen with legal firearms? Were warning signs missed? What systems failed? These are now being examined closely. Violence seeks silence. Terror seeks confusion. Clarity matters. Truth matters. And remembering the human stories matters the most. Blue Steel Heroes exists to document moments like this. Not to exploit tragedy, but to recognize courage, to honor victims, and to tell the truth without distortion. This was the Bondi Beach attack, and these were the people who stood up. This is Dave Ross. I ask that you send your prayers for the individuals who are wounded and are recovering. Some of them are gravely injured. Thank you for listening today. If you liked what you heard, please turn on notifications, subscribe, and hit that like button, and we'll see you next time.